Welcome to Easy English, your go-to channel for improving your English and life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Easy English Podcast, the channel where we teach you English through real-life topics that help you be a better individual. Today, we're exploring how to build confidence. It's something many people admire and desire, right? But maybe feel like they lack it or, struggle with self-doubt sometimes.
And you've hit on something essential there. Confidence isn't a fixed trait you're born with.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's absolutely something you can cultivate and strengthen, much like building physical strength through consistent practice.
Mm,
We're going to look at some really practical ways to approach this journey based on the ideas we've been exploring.
exactly. Our aim is to really get into what confidence truly means. Maybe challenging some common ideas about it, understand a little bit about the psychology driving it, and then get into actionable strategies you can start putting into practice right away. It's all about understanding how to feel more comfortable being you and stepping into the world with, well, a greater sense of certainty. So let's begin by really unpacking this idea. What is confidence fundamentally? It feels like it gets confused with other things sometimes.
It absolutely does, yeah. Many people mistakenly think it's about being loud or, aggressive, maybe even arrogant. But what we've learned is that at its heart, confidence is simply a quiet belief in your own ability. Your ability to handle different situations, to make decisions you trust, and to work toward your goals. It's an internal state, not really an external show.
So it's less about proving something to others and more about trusting yourself. Is that fair?
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. And it's helpful, I think, to distinguish it from a couple of related ideas people often mix up. There's self-confidence, which is often specific, like you might feel very confident cooking, right?
All right.
But less so speaking in public, perhaps.
Okay, yeah. Different areas.
Then there's self-esteem, which is a broader sense of your own worth as a person, just your overall value. And arrogance,
Yeah.
well, that's often a kind of overcompensation, maybe even a mask for insecurity. True confidence, as we've seen, it's often characterized by humility. It's grounded, secure enough that it doesn't need to boast or compare itself to anyone else. Sometimes, the most confident people are actually quite quiet.
That's a really important distinction. Wow, it shifts the focus from performance, like you said, to internal belief. Okay, so one really insightful point from what we've been looking at is that confident people aren't necessarily born that way. They develop certain habits.
Yes, exactly. These aren't innate traits. They are cultivated behaviors. Think about it. Confident people often display positive body language.
Hmm.
Standing tall, making comfortable eye contact, using open gestures instead of, say, crossing their arms.
Right, open posture.
Yeah. They tend to show composure under pressure, taking a moment to reflect rather than reacting impulsively. Their communication is usually clear, direct, and they are genuinely good listeners. That's key. There's also a sense of consistency. Their actions tend to align with their words. You can trust them. And crucially, they have a degree of self-awareness. They know their strengths and weaknesses, but aren't crippled by them. They don't pretend perfection. These are all skills anyone can practice.
And speaking of challenging misconceptions, what are some of the common myths about confidence that might, stop people from even trying to build it?
Oh, there are a few persistent ones, definitely. One big myth is that confidence is only for extroverts or loud personalities. Just not true at all. You can be quiet and possess deep confidence. Another is that you're either born with it or you're not. Again, it's shaped by experience and habits. It's not some genetic destiny. A really common one is that confident people are fearless. They aren't. They feel fear just like anyone else, but they choose to act despite it. That's the difference.
That's powerful. That fear is normal. It's the action in the face of fear that matters. Okay. So if it's not just something you have or don't have, how do you actually build it? What does psychology tell us?
This is where it gets really fascinating. The foundation is often your internal belief system. The insights we explored highlight how your brain is constantly trying to confirm what you already believe about yourself. It's like it's looking for proof. If your dominant thought is, I'm not good enough, or maybe I always mess things up, your brain will literally scan your environment.
Yeah.
And your experiences for evidence to support that, filtering out the successes, the things that contradict it.
Wow. So your own brain can kind of work against you if your core beliefs are negative.
Exactly. It's a powerful psychological phenomenon. Confirmation bias, essentially. But the flip side is equally powerful. If you cultivate a belief like, I am capable of learning and improving, your brain starts looking for evidence of that. You start noticing your small wins, your progress, your ability to handle challenges. It shifts your focus. The internal dialogue changes from, I'm terrible, I'll fail, to something like, okay, this is challenging, but I can learn my way through it. That shift, it opens the door to building confidence.
And the good news is our brains aren't stuck like that, right? This connects to that really exciting idea of neuroplasticity.
Yes, that's one of the most hopeful takeaways, I think. Neuroplasticity means your brain can change and rewire itself throughout your life. It's adaptable. Those negative thought patterns or fears, they are just established neural pathways, roads your brain is used to taking. By consciously practicing new thoughts and behaviors like using positive affirmations, visualizing success, or choosing curiosity over self-criticism, you're actively building and strengthening new neural pathways, ones associated with confidence and resilience. Your brain becomes an active partner in your growth, not an obstacle.
So building confidence really does start from the inside out. Okay, what's one of the first practical steps someone can take based on these ideas?
Self-awareness is crucial, absolutely fundamental. Understanding your own patterns, like what situations trigger your self-doubt, what thoughts pop up when you feel anxious, what makes you feel competent and strong. This awareness gives you a choice in how you respond, rather than just reacting from old programming. One tool we looked at suggests journaling, maybe even just 10 minutes a day reflecting on these things, or doing a quick check-in after a challenging event. What went well? What felt difficult? What did I learn? This helps you sort of map your inner landscape and identify where to focus your efforts.
That makes sense. Knowing your triggers helps you manage them better. What about the idea of a growth mindset? That came up too.
Oh, this is huge. Carol Dweck's work. It's the belief that your abilities aren't fixed, but can be developed through dedication and hard work. Effort matters. If you have a fixed mindset, a failure feels like a statement about who you are. I failed, therefore I am a failure. It's very final.
Right, defines you.
Exactly. But with a growth mindset, failure is simply feedback. Okay, that didn't work. What can I learn and try differently next time? It's information. To cultivate this, you can start by shifting your language. Instead of, I'm not good at this, try, I'm learning how to do this, or I'm not good at this yet. Celebrate your effort and progress, not just perfect outcomes. Focus on the journey. When you see life as a continuous learning process, a classroom basically, mistakes are just part of the curriculum. Opportunities, really.
And this leads us to something that I think many people find difficult. Self-acceptance. How does that tie into confidence?
You simply cannot build authentic confidence if you're constantly at war with yourself. It just doesn't work. Confidence includes being okay with who you are, imperfections and all, flaws included. Self-acceptance is about embracing your whole self, your past experiences, good and bad, your unique traits, owning it all. One practice we came across, sometimes called mirror work, that's a bit odd maybe, but it involves looking yourself in the eyes daily and saying kind, affirming things like, I am enough, or I accept myself as I am. It might feel strange at first, yeah, but it's a powerful way to counter potentially years of self-criticism.
And self-compassion too, treating yourself like you'd treat a friend.
Absolutely vital. They go hand in hand. When you mess up, instead of that harsh inner critic jumping in, offer yourself the same kindness and understanding you would a dear friend in the same situation. Something like, okay, that was tough, I made a mistake, but I'm human, it happens, I'll learn from this and try again. This compassionate inner voice is what builds true resilience, which is really a bedrock of lasting confidence, because it takes the sting out of failure, reduces the fear.
Okay, so building confidence isn't just about these big psychological shifts, it's also about daily habits, isn't it? Small things we do every day.
Consistency is absolutely key here. Simple morning and evening routines can make a huge difference over time. In the morning, maybe starting with gratitude, just thinking of 3 things you're thankful for, can instantly shift your perspective, set a positive tone. Repeating positive affirmations about yourself and your capabilities, maybe visualizing yourself handling challenges well during the day, or even just getting your body moving with a quick walk or stretch. Movement boosts dopamine, improves posture. It all helps.
Physical connection.
Yes. And in the evening, reflecting on your wins for the day, no matter how small they seem. This helps counteract that negative bias we talked about earlier and reinforces your sense of progress and capability. Rewires your brain a bit.
That makes sense. Now, I've heard about power posing. Is there really something to that? It seems almost too simple.
Yeah, it's based on Amy Cuddy's research. The concept explored is that your body language can actually influence your mindset. Your physiology affects your psychology. Holding what are considered high power poses like standing tall with your hands on your hips, or maybe arms raised in a V shape, even for just a couple of minutes. It can lead to subtle hormonal changes, like an increase in testosterone, often linked to confidence, and a decrease in cortisol, the stress hormone.
Wow, really? Hormones.
That's the idea.
Mm.
So daily habits like simply standing taller, making relaxed eye contact, keeping your shoulders back, using open gestures, these aren't just about looking confident to others. They can actually help you feel more confident by sending those signals back to your own brain. Your physical state impacts your psychological state. It's a feedback loop.
That's a really surprising link that your body can almost trick your brain into feeling more confident. Fascinating. And even how we dress can play a part.
It might seem superficial, yeah, but the insights we looked at suggest that wearing clothes that make you feel capable, comfortable, and authentic has a real psychological impact. It's not really about fashion trends or spending a lot of money. It's more about choosing clothes that fit well, that express your personality, maybe wearing colors that lift your mood, and simply taking care of your grooming. It shows self-respect. It's about sending a powerful message to yourself first, before you even interact with the world, feeling good in your own skin, literally.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, confidence really shows up in how we interact with others, particularly in communication. What are some key tips there?
One fundamental is simply slowing down when you speak and aiming for clarity. It's often overlooked. Talking too fast can sometimes signal nervousness or insecurity. Pausing before you answer a question makes you seem more thoughtful and in control. Also, being mindful of filler words like, or like, and consciously replacing them with silence can make your speech feel more deliberate and impactful, more gravitas.
Right, silence can be powerful.
Exactly. It's about communicating with intention and presence, not necessarily about being the loudest person in the room.
And it's not just about talking, is it? Listening plays a big role, too.
Absolutely. A huge role. Confident communicators are often excellent, active listeners. They're present, they give their full attention, make appropriate eye contact, use nods or small verbal cues like, I understand, or that's interesting, to show they're engaged. And they ask clarifying or follow-up questions. It shows genuine interest. When you truly listen, people feel valued and respected, which naturally makes your interactions smoother and, in turn, reinforces your own confidence in those social settings.
And perhaps one of the most challenging communication skills, but maybe the most empowering, saying no and setting boundaries.
Oh, this is huge, so important. Many people worry about disappointing others. It's a common fear. But what we explored highlights that every time you say yes to something you don't genuinely want to do or simply don't have the capacity for, you're essentially saying no to your own needs, your own energy, your own priorities. Setting healthy boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for protecting your well-being and reinforcing your own value. It shows self-respect. Even using simple assertive phrases like, I can't take that on right now, or that schedule doesn't work for me, honors your limits. And doing that consistently builds self-respect, which is deeply tied to confidence.
Okay, let's talk about a major hurdle for many, overcoming fear and self-doubt. Where does that often originate?
It frequently stems from deeply ingrained fears, often developed from past negative experiences, maybe criticism, perhaps perceived failures, fears of rejection, fears of failure, fears of judgment. Those are the big ones. The first step really is simply recognizing and naming the fear, getting specific, asking yourself, is this fear based on a real, present threat, or is it more like an echo from the past or an imagined worst-case scenario? Often it's the latter. It's not based on current facts. Challenging these fears with a bit of logic and self-compassion is crucial.
What about practical tools for managing those negative thoughts and fears? Are there specific techniques people can use?
Yes, absolutely. Ideas from approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT can be really useful here. One technique is thought challenging. So when a negative thought pops up like, I'm going to fail this presentation, you pause and actively find evidence to counter it. Actually, I prepared really well and I've given successful talks before. Find the counter evidence.
Okay, challenge the thought.
Exactly. Another is trying behavioral experiments, intentionally doing something slightly scary in a low-stakes way, and seeing that the outcome is rarely as bad as the fear predicted. Gathering real-world data that contradicts the fear. Visualizing success before a challenging event can also help. Your brain kind of practices the positive scenario, making it feel more familiar and manageable when the time comes.
So it's about retraining your brain's reaction patterns. And ultimately, facing the fear itself seems necessary, right? You can't just think your way out of it.
Absolutely. That's where the real growth happens. Confidence grows when you willingly step outside your comfort zone. It's not about taking huge, terrifying leaps right away, though. It's more about gradual, safe exposure, like exposure therapy principles. If you fear public speaking, Maybe start by speaking up more in small meetings or group chats. Smaller steps. If social settings are hard, commit to greeting just one new person at an event. Just one. Every single time you face a fear, however small, and navigate it, your brain learns, okay, I survived that, I can handle this.
Hmm.
Celebrating those small acts of courage builds undeniable proof of your capability and resilience over time. Persistence in facing fear is a powerful confidence builder.
Okay, so how do these principles translate into specific areas like work or social situations, day-to-day life?
Well, in the workplace, confidence is obviously key for growth and effectiveness and just feeling good about your contribution. Based on what we explored, it's about things like preparing thoroughly for meetings or tasks so you feel knowledgeable, finding opportunities to contribute your ideas to discussions, even if it feels a bit uncomfortable at first, sharing your perspective, asking thoughtful questions that show you're engaged and thinking critically, and importantly, viewing feedback not as personal criticism but as valuable information for improvement. Being open to learning. It's really about taking initiative, owning your contributions, and seeing yourself as capable.
And for social settings, especially if you feel shy or anxious.
Yeah, social anxiety is very common, and it's definitely something you can work on incrementally. Starting small is key. Practicing comfortable eye contact, maybe holding it just a little longer each time, not staring, but connecting. Using open body language, arms uncrossed, shoulders relaxed, helps you feel and appear more approachable. Asking open-ended questions is great things like, what did you think about, or how did you get into? It invites conversation and takes the pressure off you to do all the talking. And simply practicing small talk daily with people you encounter, the cashier, a neighbor, someone in line, builds that conversational muscle. Every interaction is a small practice session, builds familiarity.
What about navigating dating and relationships with more confidence? That can be a tricky area.
It really comes down to being comfortable being your authentic self. That's the core. The idea is that true connection, genuine intimacy, comes when you are real, when you show up as yourself. It's about being present when you're with someone, giving them your full attention, putting your phone away, sharing honestly about your interests, your values, and yes, even your vulnerabilities, because showing who you truly are is actually a strength, not a weakness. It builds trust, not overanalyzing every little reaction from the other person, letting things unfold. And fundamentally, knowing your own worth, entering relationships as an equal, seeking genuine connection, not needing external validation just to feel okay about yourself. This self-assuredness allows for healthier boundaries, mutual respect, and ultimately, deeper intimacy.
Building this kind of deep, authentic confidence sounds like a lifelong journey, not a quick fix. What are some long-term strategies to keep it growing?
Setting meaningful goals for yourself is vital for long-term growth. That provides direction and builds momentum. The idea of SMART goals is really helpful here. Making them specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound gives them structure. So for example, instead of a vague goal like, I want to be more confident speaking, it becomes something concrete like, I will practice speaking up with one comment or question in every team meeting for the next month. Achieving these smaller, defined goals consistently builds undeniable proof to yourself. It tells your brain, hey, I am capable, I can follow through on hard things. That builds deep self-trust over time.
And embracing failure seems counterintuitive, but you mentioned it's a big part of building resilience and therefore confidence.
It's absolutely crucial. It really is. Failure isn't the opposite of confidence. It's often the pathway to it, paradoxically, provided you learn from it. Think about anyone you admire who achieved great things. Chances are their path is littered with setbacks and failures. It's part of the process. When you experience a failure, instead of letting it crush you or define you, the key is to approach it with curiosity. What happened here? What can I learn? How can I adjust my approach next time? And crucially, treat yourself with compassion during that process. Be your own coach encouraging you, not a harsh critic tearing you down. Confidence, in the long run, is really a byproduct of resilience, that willingness to keep showing up, keep trying, keep learning, even after things don't go as planned, bouncing back.
That resilience builds a stronger sense of self, a more solid identity.
Precisely. That's the ultimate goal. Long-term confidence is rooted in a resilient identity, who you fundamentally believe yourself to be, at your core, independent of external validation or achievements. If your sense of worth depends solely on how others see you or what you accomplish externally, your confidence will always be fragile, always fluctuating. Building a strong identity involves things like clarifying your core values, what truly matters to you, engaging in personal practices that ground you, like journaling, mindfulness, or creative expression, and celebrating what makes you unique, your experiences, your perspectives, your talents. When you fundamentally see yourself as a person who learns, grows, takes action, faces challenges, and can bounce back, you develop an inner strength, an inner knowing that becomes unshakable.
We've covered so much ground, so many helpful ideas. What are some of the quick takeaways or maybe common questions people often have about building confidence?
Yeah, good point. We touched on the fact that lack of confidence often comes from things like past negative experiences, criticism, maybe trying too hard to be perfect, or comparing yourself to others. But the key is it's learned, and it can be changed and strengthened. That's the hopeful message, the idea of fake it till you make it. Well, yes, acting confident can sometimes trigger real feelings because of that body-mind feedback loop we discussed. But it's most effective when you combine it with the internal work-changing beliefs, self-compassion, to build genuine, lasting confidence from the inside out.
Right, the internal and external working together.
Exactly. We also saw that confidence is more about belief in your abilities in specific situations, while self-esteem is your overall sense of worth. They're related, definitely, but distinct. How long does it take? Well, it's a journey, not a destination. But with consistent practice, you can definitely start seeing and feeling changes in weeks or months. Consistency is key. Can introverts be confident? Absolutely, 100%. Confidence isn't about loudness. Introverts often show confidence through thoughtful contributions, quiet presence, deep listening, and inner strength. And for those quick boosts right before a challenging event like a presentation or interview, simple things can help. Power poses for a minute, taking a few slow, deep breaths, using a positive affirmation or mantra, quickly visualizing a successful outcome, or even listening to some empowering music, little state changers.
Okay. So to sort of bring all these ideas together as we wrap up.
Confidence is truly a skill you can learn, a mindset you can cultivate, and a set of daily practices you can integrate into your life. It really starts with understanding yourself better, shifting your internal world, your thoughts, your beliefs, your self-talk, and then consciously choosing to show up differently in the external world, little by little, day by day. It's built step by step through self-awareness, cultivating helpful habits, practicing clear and assertive communication, and taking courageous action, especially when it feels uncomfortable.
And remembering it's not about eliminating fear entirely, but about choosing to act despite the fear. That seems to be a really crucial takeaway.
We really encourage you, the listener, to commit to this process of growth. Be patient with yourself, please. Embrace your imperfections, they're part of being human. Be willing to take small risks that push your boundaries just a little bit. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep going, especially when it feels challenging. That's when the growth happens.
You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. That's a good reminder.
You just need to believe that you matter, that your voice and contributions are valuable, and then practice acting in alignment with that belief consistently.
So maybe we can leave you with a final thought to ponder. If building confidence is like strengthening a muscle through daily exercise, what is one small rep, just one tiny practice or action you can commit to doing today to make that confidence muscle just a little bit stronger?
I think that's all we have for today's episode. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.